Hello, everybody. Good morning. Hello, Drew. Welcome in to the OnlyBets Sports Podcast. Please, before we get started, make sure you find us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and give us a like and a rating if you can. We are coming off a good day. I went 1-0 on my official picks. The only overdog or favorite that didn't win yesterday was the first game of the day in Portland. They lost to Washington 115 to 111, but every single other favorite in the NBA covered. That would have been a nice little payout for myself. Drew, tell us how you did yesterday. Welcome in.
So started out 2-0, and then went 2-2. It was a tough day for Creighton. They decided not to play today, and they got paid off. I'm just kidding. But that was just a really bad game on Creighton's side. They couldn't hit anything. They were down 30, and then they decide to start playing. They bring it within 15 with like 3 minutes left. So it was just one of those unfortunate things. And I've never, when it comes to the Purdue game, it's very unfortunate that I've never seen Purdue's offense look that bad, especially on the road. Now Purdue has lost three straight, and that's really bad for them. Of course, they're still going to make the tournament, but when it comes to seeding, it's going to affect them because they have some good wins under the belt. You just can't lose at Indiana like that and drop another road game. So it was overall unfortunate, but the two picks that necessarily weren't listed on the thing that I suggested with Sharks money line and the over on the Sixers game and also the over in the Blues game. Those all hit. I did do those once I talked myself into it. So shout out to Macklin Celebrini, who's going to be the future GOAT, had 4 points at 19 years old once again for the Sharks.
Nice, man. Yeah, that was an absolute shocking loss yesterday. I actually kept taking Purdue live, thinking that they were going to turn it around at some point or another, but they never did. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the seeding and why it's so important in college basketball for the tournament coming up? And when exactly does it start? How much time do we got before the tournament starts in March?
So we have quite a bit of time. We're at the phase where we're in conference play, right? Of course, and then after conference play, there's a conference tournament. The conference tournament is mainly important for the teams that can only get in the tournament because of that. So no matter what, whatever conference, even the lowest conferences, by the way, guys, if you win your tournament, you're in. So you can literally be a like you usually play 30 games at the end of the season or 31, 32. You can literally be a 10 and 20 team and get in if you win your tournament at the very end. But if you win in your conference is different. That means whoever has the best conference record at the end of the season. But seeding is very important, especially for these top teams. So you're more likely to start off um, not playing as good of teams, and then you have a more favorable bracket the rest of the way. And there's projected seeds like Purdue losing that. I think they're projected to be a 3 or 4 seed now instead of a one. If you're a 1 seed, you start out playing the 16 seed, and your odds of a 16 seed winning are really low, as only two have won in history, right? But if you're an 8 seed, versus a 9, your odds go down. So yeah, the tournament's coming up. Usually it starts like March 20th, and then they play a bunch of games in the Final Fours in the beginning of April, and then the championships in April as well. So seeding is very important.
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Every single year, I get more and more involved in the tournament. Last year, I actually came. I think it was like 1300th in a contest in Yahoo, which doesn't sound like it's great, but it was pretty far up there. Have you ever like done really well in those tournament brackets?
Yeah, so I have. I've won a couple of times. I usually just do my family bracket, and then I do a bracket for like the million thing, whatever the $1 million thing that they do sometimes, you know. But something I will say, what I learned about this, the less you know, the better. I've learned, you know, with
Yeah,
when it
that's
comes to that, because I swear my sister, she's my sister, but she's basically my sister. She knows nothing about college basketball, and she won last year, you know. So it's just like the less you know, the better. The reason they call it March Madness.
Yeah, it's really just because anything can happen. I think you put yourself on mute there at the end. Yeah, it's quite wild. Although I will say, in the current era, it seems that less and less upsets are happening, and the Cinderella stories are starting to go away. Do you have any takes on that?
Yeah, definitely. So something I will say that I like about this, The transfer portal has made what do they call it? Transfer portal has made the college basketball more competitive. Well, there's not one more dominant team, but the problem is that the lower mid majors aren't competitive. Like, of course, the Mountain West is going to be competitive because of like San Diego State and stuff, but the other mid majors like the UABs and USFs and like those mid majors, they're losing theirs. But overall, everybody else is competitive because it used to be just there's one or two dominant teams because they get the top recruits, and you can't. There was no transferring. If you transfer, you're out. But now there's some of the top teams are going to be very competitive, and there's not one dominant team anymore.
Okay. So it's take the good with the bad. More competitive across the top tier teams, but maybe there's not as many top tier teams. Is that kind of what it sounds like?
Yeah, so there's not like no, they're like basically there's a bunch of top tier teams, but there's not one that like stands over the other, right? Like you notice like Nebraska, right? They are doing great. There's not a historically good basketball franchise. They're doing great because of the transfer portal. Like they must be Michigan. Michigan's a great team. Nebraska's a great team. Arizona's a great team. Kansas is getting up there again. BYU. And then when you see these others, and then the problem is the very bottom schools can't compete with those now, but the other mid majors like San Diego State can. So like when you see those teams face, it's going to be a very close game. So that's where the tournaments become more competitive. They're not like there's not like one team anymore that just rolls through the tournament.
Right. And I'm putting you on the spot here. Do you have any maybe favorites or good betting odds that would possibly to win the tournament or to make the final four or some kind of futures bet pre-March, really? Do you get any
Yep.
look aheads?
Yeah, so something I will say about the bracket is it depends where, of course, people are seated and where they're going to play and who they're going to play. We won't know that until later. But I would say some of the best teams I noticed were the first one is I think Michigan is just so good. And I think Nebraska impressed me a lot. They, of course, covered. They almost beat Michigan at their home. I think Michigan is just tipping the surface, and I think they're still playing with their food. I think they're a huge team. I think to me, teams I would look at for odds, but they may not have great odds, are Arizona. The best teams are Arizona and Michigan, in my opinion. And then I would say sleeper teams that I would say to win the tournament that may not have the best odds are Houston. I love Houston. I always love Samson teams. They have an amazing defense. They have a great freshman. And then other sleeper teams I would look at is Illinois. They have another great freshman. And lastly, I will say if Darren Peterson's healthy for my Jayhawks, Kansas is a good one as well. And then for the SEC, if Florida figures out, I would say Florida personally. And of course, always Duke is a good option. So I would say those teams I would look at. The odds for Arizona and Michigan may be awful. But Nebraska, I don't know what Nebraska is, but Nebraska has a chance to get to the Final Four, I think, depending who they play. But I'll speak more on that once we have the bracket open.
Yeah, thank you so much for that insight. I personally sprinkled on Duke. I'm plus 1300. I think that was about a month or two ago.
Great odds.
Yeah, I couldn't not take them, and the odds I think have shortened now to under 1,000. I'm definitely going to start sprinkling on some of these once I listen to this back later today when it goes up as our official podcast. You know what? While we're in college basketball, though, why don't you lead us off and kind of bring us into the world of betting tonight for the sport? Got anything for us?
Yeah, I'm probably with college basketball. I'm probably going to just stick with, of course, one or two bets and some money lines I'm interested in as well. Sorry I didn't send you the picks yet because I was debating one by looking at value. But there's not as much. There's like a few plays I saw amazing value. But when I was looking at like Tennessee, Georgia, don't trust any of those teams. Personally, Davis and George Mason's too steep personally. And then there was also, I believe, Xavier Seton Hall. I'm staying away from Big East games for the rest of my life, especially with the Creighton Marquette. And then even UConn Providence was a crazy game yesterday. Like, then no matter what, you can't predict Big East games. But I would say my number one play that I like, and I think it'll drop down a little more, but I love it. Houston at TCU. Houston is only -7.5 at TCU. People like TCU because they generally will play close at home. But to me, they really haven't. They've only played one really good team at home. And ever since the Kansas loss, they have not looked their best when they blew that massive lead to Kansas. It's historically one of the biggest collapses in college basketball history. They were plus 5,000 at one point, and the Kansas won. But if you look at Houston's last game, this is a crazy stat. Kelvin Sampson's the coach. It was the first time it was at Tech, first time Kelvin Sampson since he coached Houston, I think it was like 15, 20 years. He's allowed 90 points or more in regulation. And he's going to want to tighten up this defense. TCU only averages 70 points per game so far in conference at home. Houston can travel on the road and they can blow people out. They have not played Houston this year. TCU is small and they usually play well with their size, but Houston is just a huge team and they know how to use the side, which is a bad matchup. If you look at the offensive rating, defensive official rating, I think it's like a plus 24 combined gap with this. And also another thing is I think Houston's just going to dominate on the boards. Sampson's going to light a fire in his team because he did not like how his defense played. I think they're going to want to blow TCU out the water. I can personally see TCU, like the over under for TCU right now is 65. So I can personally see Houston winning, in my opinion, like 80 to 60. I just don't see any way Houston doesn't beat them by double digits.
Yeah, this is an interesting line. When it opened, I think it opened up at -4.5. I personally took it at -5.5, and now the lines jump to, you can get this at +8.5 now, or -8.5, depending on which way you're looking at it. So I actually personally middled this because I got the
Smart.
-5.5, and now I have the +8.5, and I'm just going to sit pretty because I don't know what to do with this game. My model has TCU as a value pick, but I tend to agree with you that Houston is the play here. So with the sharp money on Houston, I was and am on that side. And if I find an opportunity to get them money line, I'm definitely going to start sprinkling on again to kind of reposition what I have here. So your best bet here though is Houston -7.5.
Yeah, so when I did my model, I ran all the Ken Palm stats because I subscribe to like Ken Palm, and Ken Palm shows literally every single stat possible, and I show the conf. So what I do is I do conference stats, and I have them anchor all the conference stats from Ken Palm, and then I do conference standings, and then I show who they played in conference, and do full season for stabilization. Then I factor in blowout risk, suppression, HCA, and my model said that Houston should be 14.5 point favorites for this kind of game with all of that. Yeah, and then it was at 8.5, so it went to 4.5, 5.5, 8.5. Now it's on a 7.5 on DK from -115. So I think it will drop down now because when it first opened, a lot of money went on Houston, and all it can do now, and 90% of money is like on Houston, and all it can do now is just go down. So I'm gonna wait a little bit. But when I'm looking at it, honestly, like there's other games I was interested in money lines that I may do a lay. One line I noticed that moved a lot was Florida moved from 10.5 to 12.5, but I saw no value there for Florida, personally, in my opinion. But other games that I would look at for live betting wise is probably the Tennessee Georgia game. I don't necessarily trust either teams, but if you see uh, Georgia go up early, and you see the offensive glass is not, the rebounding of Tennessee is not affecting Georgia, and Georgia's getting more offensive rebounds, I think Georgia should be able to win this and go away. I would take their live spread. And then personally, the only other game I can see is Baylor at Cincinnati. Both teams are terrible in the Big 12. But if you see Cincinnati not being able to score, a game starts at I think 18:30 Eastern. If you see that Cincinnati is still struggling scoring at home and Baylor's just getting whatever they want, Cincinnati's offense won't pick up and Baylor's probably going to win. So
Yeah, that's in line. By the way, I am on the Georgia side. I noticed that the money line moved to -110 this morning, and I just put a quarter unit on that.
oh, that's smart.
Just on the value alone, I like that.
Yeah,
And
my
Baylor
model
looked
said
like they're
Georgia
playing too.
-3.5 should have been the value, and it opened I think at like Georgia minus like 2.5 or 3. So Yeah.
Yeah. I saw it at -2.5, I believe, yesterday. Didn't really feel comfortable taking it there. I'd rather just get the money line. And yeah, this Cincinnati Baylor game, that makes a lot of sense. I think Baylor is a very live underdog here as well.
Well,
Or
remember at
not here as
home, though,
well.
Cincinnati has done really well at home. They beat Iowa State at home, but they've also just been they've been terrible on the road, but they do well at home. But the way you can tell when Cincinnati's not going to do well is if they start shooting well in the beginning, that means they're going to shoot well the rest of the game. They start shooting bad, they're going to shoot bad the rest of the game. It's the same with Baylor, right? But Baylor needs this win, so I would only live bet that game because those kind of teams are very reliant on like live wise to see how they're going. They're very streaky teams.
Nice, excellent looks. Any other information that you want to give us before we move on from the world of college basketball?
Yeah, definitely. There's one more thing that I was going to mention. On So on Friday, we do have a really big game, and I'm going to do a lot of research on, and I want to call it out now because I have family that's Michigan fans, right? I hated to admit I was kind of rooting for Nebraska, even though I root for Michigan. I felt sacrilegious doing that. But we have Michigan at Michigan State, so I may bet this game early and mention it tomorrow. Starts on Friday. Michigan is -1.5, -102 at Michigan State. I personally like Michigan in this, so I'm gonna do some research on that game, and that's gonna be a big game because I feel like a lot of money, especially after Michigan State's performance against Rutgers and almost losing. I don't know if Michigan State can personally compete with Michigan's size, so I'm gonna do research on that game. That's my last thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna look forward to that. I have family who went both to Michigan and Michigan State, and it's a huge rivalry within my own family. So I'm gonna be watching that game, and I'd be very interested to hear whatever analytics that you can bring to the table. Speaking of sacrilege, we're gonna move to the NBA. I am personally taking the Toronto Raptors against my New York Knicks, despite the two great wins yesterday, which we cashed on, and the day before, which they just absolutely blew out the Nets. They are traveling to Toronto after the game internationally in snow. I'm not sure how well rested they're going to be, and I think that fatigue gets to them at the end of the day here. And Toronto has been on fire. I think that Toronto is playing some of their best ball all year round. They're on a 4-game winning streak, right? They're 15-1 against the spread. Sorry, the Knicks are dismal 6-15 against the spread on the road this season. I'm not sure if the Knicks are going to have enough to kind of beat the Raptors. And not to mention that this is a double revenge spot, as the Knicks had beaten the Raptors twice already this season. I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to beat division rivals 3 times in a row in the same season. So I like the Raptors to win here. -1.5 is basically the same thing, and at -110 juice, feels like it's worth it. Do you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so yeah, this is Knicks definitely coming off of a back to back. I personally about this game, I think Toronto, especially since they're on a 4-game win streak and they've been shooting the three better. And are the Knicks resting anybody today or no? I didn't see that.
I took this line last night, actually.
Uh, oh,
I'm
okay.
not sure, but it is on a back to back, so that was a part of the calculation that they just might be a little bit tired and having to rest some people a bit more than usual.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I would say if I had to take one, it would probably be the Raptors if I had to pick one, just because of the Knicks coming off the back to back. The Raptors are hot on a 4-game winning streak, and I believe the Raptors are home too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I will say that they were just traveling, but they are rested, so yeah, you kind of think that cancels each other out. It's really the exhaustion setting in the third and fourth quarter, which we have started to see from a lot of these travel spots. The worse the weather is, and the later that you're traveling, the harder it is to keep focus for all 4 quarters in a game. It's easy to let it slip, and it's hard to climb back. All right. Did you watch the game last night? Jamal Murray missing those free throws, that free throw.
No, I
Oh
wasn't able to
man.
watch that.
Oh, that was so brutal. Prince of Pix was was on them, and he just couldn't believe it. He's like, "Oh, they got a foul. They're gonna be able to tie the game." He just misses, and that was pretty brutal. There were some other high leverage spots: Cavaliers, Lakers. I went back and forth. I do lean Lakers with the plus 3.5. I'm not sure if Cleveland's really going to be able to be that consistent. And the Lakers are starting to click. So I like that side of it, but no official play for me. The Rockets and Spurs were another interesting one to me. That's going to be a fun game to watch if you're interested in big man struggles. Wimbendea is just unbelievable to watch, and he's going against a very tough opponent. We got the Mavericks facing the Timberwolves, which is also a good one. Lean Timberwolves here, but I guess who wouldn't? The last game that I was really looking at was the Bulls and Pacers. I really wanted to take the Bulls, and I still might if I get a decent price on the money line, but it's really hard to lay money on them. Lay any lines
I
on
kind of
them, you
like the
know?
Pacers.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I don't.
I-
I was like looking at that game, and personally, I know it's crazy to say, but I just think that the Pacers have like a better way to win, right? Just how they can get up and down the court. Because like if you think about it, over the last 10 games, believe they're like eighth in fast break points, and so I don't know. Uh, I just feel like I can't trust the Bulls, and the Pacers have looked better lately. I don't know.
Yeah, I hear it. I hear it. Again, it was just a lean for me when I was looking at the game. I didn't dive too in depth into it, but
Live
um,
bet game, I'll say that.
yeah, and a lot of them have been great live bet games. There's been a lot of back and forth in the NBA as of late. Yeah, anything else on the hard court before we move on to the NHL and my best bet
Yes.
over there?
Yeah, for sure. There's actually a couple NBA plays I like. I have another over that I like. So we have the Magic at Heat. Believe it or not, these actually is an underrated rivalry. They do not necessarily like each other. So, and this is a clash of paces, right? And this is at the Heat. So Miami Heat is one of the fastest paces in the NBA. Magic are one of the slowest. But I think since Miami Heat are home, they're going to force the Magic into a high pace, like fast game. And I think the Heat are, going to want to beat the brakes off of them. And then the Magic are going to have to match their pace. And I think 228.5 is too low. I don't know what it is right now, but I saw it yesterday at 228.5. Let me see real quick. Yeah, it's at 229.5. I still like that. I can see this game being in the 250s personally. So that's one of my plays. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I didn't really have anything for this one. Both teams are good defensively, but I hear you. It's a low total.
Yeah, and the Heat score a lot of points. That's something they do, and they do have defensive breakdowns sometimes as well. And it's just one of those things. I think it's going to go up and down the court. Uh, another play that I liked. Let me pull it up right here. Um, where is it? This one I might do. I don't know, but I'm actually thinking about it. So I personally think that Cleveland. I like Cleveland over the Lakers tonight at home. Personally, it's minus 2.5. I would personally take it. I think Cleveland is going to beat them. I do not trust this Lakers team on the road. And uh, it's just one of those things where the Cavs have played a very tough schedule, and I think they're more battle tested at the end of the day. And the Lakers have been beating a bunch of cupcakes, and I think the Cavs just beat them. Honestly, I think they're the better team, especially at home.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see how they defend Luca and LeBron early, and if they're able to handle and force perimeter shots. then they probably have a good chance to win. But it's really going to come down to that defense and being able to cover those two because I mean that's a dynamic duo if I've ever seen one.
Oh, definitely a dynamic duo. And something else about the Lakers is Lakers actually. I have a buddy who's a Laker fan. They said they're one of the top. If you go to the fourth quarter with them and they're down by five or less, they're the number one team in closing games, right? Because they have that firepower. So this is one of those things where they can't afford to go down early as someone like Cleveland. Because something about Cleveland is they do definitely have the offense and defense to make sure that people don't come back. So I that's one of those games I may watch how it starts and then decide based off that.
Yep, yeah, and that's kind of where I settled when I was trying to find my best bet last night. Which, by the way, please subscribe to my premium articles over on Substack. I just recently started releasing my plays the night before as much as possible, so that the my followers can get the best bet and the best line, which is very important in the long term success of betting. Yeah. Anyway, do you have any shout outs by the way for yourself? I know DrewDelucchi1 is your Twitter handle. Do you have any other formats or social medias that you want to shout out real quick before we move on to the ice?
Nope, I have none. I do have I have no other platforms necessarily. I do have a couple hockey plays though.
Nice. Yeah, a couple hockey plays off 3 games. This is a very interesting slate tonight. We have the Rangers versus Islanders, two New York teams. Rangers, I cannot see winning this, but I didn't really feel comfortable taking a side. Do you have any thoughts on this one?
So actually, the one on that, if I would lean, it's not necessarily one of my plays, but one I would lean on this is Vegas is having this right now. I believe it's over 6.5 for plus money. I haven't checked what the to do the oh it's over, it's -1.5 now, -105 for over 6.5. I think there's gonna be a lot of goals scored in this game personally, in my opinion. Well, there's something that's crazy. I don't know if you guys knew this, but the Rangers have yet to score a single goal this year through 120 minutes of action against the Islanders this season, right?
That's just wild.
But yeah, but the Rangers have scored three or more goals in five of the last six games, averaging 3.5 goals per game in that span. They also have been better offensively on the road, which I saw was weird. And the Islanders are coming off a 4-0 win. The problem with the Islanders, right? The problem is Igor Shesterkin is still on the IR, and both Jonathan Quick and Spencer Martin, the goalies, have not been great. They've had sub 90% save percentages. So I can honestly see like a 6-3 game or like a 4-5 game. I think there'll be more goals in this game.
Nice. That's a sharp look, I think. Looking
I
at the
don't trust either
goals.
team to win.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I'm off this game, but I think you're probably right. The goals have been flowing against both of these teams as of late, and without their main goal, without the main goalie there, it's going to be tough to stop them. What about this next one? You got Colorado versus Ottawa. Anything on this one? This seems
Yes.
like a nice matchup to watch, but how do we attack it on the betting side?
So I would say this is one of the plays I would definitely look at personally. So we're reaching a weird, because Avalanche have probably been the best team. This is a weird run by the Avalanche where I believe they're 1-2-2. So one win, two losses in overtime in the last 5 games. But they came back by destroying the Maple Leafs in the last game, 4-1. Um,
Yeah, that
and
was
something
wild.
and something that people don't realize is the Avalanche are coming to this game with 2 full days of rest, and I think they're going to be hungry, right? And and the last time we saw the Ottawa is they lost 7-1, right? They own, yeah, seven. They got thumped by the Knights 7-1. So, and they've just won 12 of their 26 home games this season and 10 of 23. I love the Avalanche for plus money in this game. I think Avalanche will destroy them.
Nice. I think that's another good look over there. Why not take the plus
Buy
money?
low.
Yeah, yeah. I personally couldn't pull the trigger last night because the next game contains my best bet of the day. Britt, you want to give us a little preview of Philadelphia versus the Blue Jackets?
Are you talking to me?
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would say for this game, I personally don't necessarily like either team to win, but this is another over. I would definitely this is another over I would definitely like look at. So both teams, in my opinion, can score goals, right? Like like both teams I think average over like 3 goals per game, and both teams are very inconsistent on the goalie side. I think the Flyers have averaged 3.2 goals per game in the past 6 outings. But the problem is Blue Jackets are going to use Elvis. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. It's like Mersilskinins, but he has not been that good. But still, the Blue Jackets can score goals too. This is just one of those. I think there's gonna be a lot of goals.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I took the home advantage angle here. I think the Blue Jackets on the money line price of -130 against an inconsistent road Flyers team is kind of where I want to attack. I think that a lot of people are going to be backing Philadelphia to bounce back after that embarrassing 4-0 loss against the Islanders, but I don't really see any good wins here, and I definitely don't really see any good wins on the road here. And then the Blue Jackets on the other side are riding a really nice streak, 4 out of their last 5 games, and against solid teams. They beat the Lightning, they beat Dallas, right? They beat Pittsburgh, Vancouver. I just think that they are the better team here, and I think the -130 is definitely worth a shot. And I generally
Yeah,
do not like paying the -130 juice, but I mean, I just think that they're just going to overpower Philadelphia. And mind you, I am in Philadelphia, so I'm going to hear some blowback from my neighbors, but I think it's worth it tonight.
yeah. If I had to pick one, that would definitely be the Jackets with how consistent the Flyers have been. Personally, what I would say is I think if I had to pick I can see the Blue Jackets winning like a 4-3 game, or honestly even a 5-2 or something like that, or 5-3. So I think it will be the Blue Jackets will go up 2-0. And then in the second period, it will probably be like 3-1, and then it'll probably end like 4-3.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I really hope so. Or you know what? Better yet, a 4-2 or a 1-0 blowout. Who knows? Whatever it is.
Oh yeah, you don't know. That's something about hockey. Something I learned is if you ever bet over unders, guys, look for the hedge, because like there'll be times where a team will go up 3-0 right in the first period. Like, oh, the over is definitely gonna hit. No, it's not guaranteed, right? I saw the first period of the Sharks game be literally 3-1 against the Rangers, and they didn't score. No one scored the rest of the way. So I mean, it happened.
Yes, and we're going to also get into soccer real quick with our best bets for the Champions League later today. If you haven't already, go back to our Sunday's special edition episode for Champions League, where Prince of Picks and I broke down all of our best bets across every single game. Literally, Prince of Picks broke down every single game and gave us a best bet in every single one. And I'll get that in a sec. You know what? Why not? Let's just get into that real quick right now. Anything left? Anything left on the ice before we move on?
No, there's only 3 games today, so that's pretty much all I have. I'm just gonna listen to you guys listen to you talk about soccer.
All right, yeah, just a little recap. The best bet from both Prince of Picks and I uh, for today was Eintracht Frankfurt and Tottenham over 2.5. I took the over 2.5 goals at -140. He added the both teams to score to the 2.5 for a payout at -110. I think both of our look, and I think that we agreed together that that was our best bet. We also both like Barcelona, Real Madrid. We both think that those teams are really live to win, or at least to score 2 goals each. Hint, hint. Go look at our Sunday's episode. There was some other news coming around. The Bills just hired, or I should say, promoted offensive coordinator Joe Brady to head coach on a 5-year deal. I kind of wanted to break into this a little bit. We haven't gone into so much non-betting spaces, but this was a really surprising move from my perspective. Drew, do you have any thoughts on this? Really putting you on the spot here because I did
Uh,
not prep you at all.
oh yeah, I don't know even though I'm Italian and played soccer a lot of my life, I don't know as much about soccer. I will say that. Yeah, so no necessarily real take on that. I'm still learning about soccer.
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair. So yeah, I was just surprised by this. I'm not really sure if I guess they really wanted to keep the continuity for Josh Allen to keep rolling instead of having to learn a new offense. But when they fired McDermott, I really expected them to go in a defensive direction, which was what they said that they
Oh,
were
my
looking
bad. You're
for.
talking about NFL. I didn't hear you. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all
I thought
good.
my thing cut out, and then the last thing I heard was soccer. But yeah, my
Sorry.
bad. But
Um,
yeah, fire McDermott. I don't understand. Sorry to interrupt. I don't understand like firing McDermott personally. In my opinion, I think he was a really good coach. Even John Gruden said it. He was like, I don't understand why you fire McDermott. At the end of the day, I know you want a new culture, but he was the best coach the Bills have had in a while. And at the end of the day, it's just one of those things where he did the best he could with a mediocre defense. Like you're not giving him the personnel on defense to succeed.
yeah, I think that's a really important point here. His defense was ranked, I believe, 29th or 30th in yards allowed, and I think it was 27th, somewhere in the bottom five of rushing yards allowed in the first half of the season, and they completely turned it around. You saw the effort on defense towards the second half of the season, and they shut down good offensive teams multiple times. And granted, they did give up a lot of points, right, to the Broncos there, but we were the favorite. Honestly, there was a questionable call in there. A lot of people felt like they should have won the game. There was no reason for McDermott to ever get fired, and I agree that if they wanted to go in a different direction, maybe that was the move to get rid of McDermott. But they're just promoting their same person up, their offensive coordinator, who, I mean, listen, if you've watched the Bills' offense, if without Josh Allen's legs, it has not been all that fantastic. So I'm really curious to see how this goes moving forward. Uh, Not sure if I agree with the move, but then again, who am I?
Yeah, if I would have hired anybody, it would be the person who helped Josh Allen become who he was, and that's Brian Dable personally. Because Brian Dable was one who helped Josh Allen become a more polished passer and all that.
I would have loved to see that. I am a Giants fan. I do think that Dayball got the raw end of a stick there, but I mean, I can't say I'm not happy that John Harbaugh's there because he is cleaning house the way that Dayball should have in the first place and really putting together at least getting us Giants fans excited for next season, which is something that we haven't been able to say in quite some time. But moving on, we're just gonna.
Yeah, I love that by your team, John Harbaugh. Personally, I think that makes him the best coach in the NFC East. I'm sorry, I know he's a Super Bowl champion, but Nick Sirianni is not a better coach than John Harbaugh.
I have mixed feelings on Nick Sirianni. I think he is a good coach, um, but you just gotta kick the darn field goals. You just gotta kick it. You just have to play it safe. I know that the analytics are the exciting thing, and that people are like, "Oh, you have a more than 50% or 46% chance, and this and that." Who cares? You know what? The chances that your offense is going to be clicking the way that it did that first drive is slim to none. Just kick the field goal, get the points on the table, and then move on. All you need to do is kick two or three field goals, and it's the same as scoring a full-on touchdown. And I am shocked, beyond shocked, every single time that I see teams going for it on fourth, especially when they have the field goal readily available at the 30-yard line. So it's just something that upsets me. The other thing that upsets me in the NFL is the penalties. I do not agree that a passing interference call should give you the field where the penalty was called. I think that's a ridiculous answer to something. Maybe give them 5 or 10 yards, but do not give them 50 yards. Make there a
Do
cap
you like
somehow.
do you like what they do in college?
Yeah, I think that's a much better system, and
Yeah,
I
it's like
hope that it's
15
kept.
yards.
Yeah, and I
And
think that's also too steep, by the way. I do think that's too steep. I think it should be just 10 yards, but I think that's a much better system. And it forces an offense to move down the field, which gives us, the fans, the ability to watch it. It should be more like soccer where it's fluid. You are moving the pitch. There's nothing outside of the game. In American sports, there's too many stoppages. There you have to stop for this, stop for that. The action is very limited, and sometimes a lot of times, the better team doesn't actually win based off what I consider stupidity. But moving on, I was watching tennis last night. Djokovic was down 2-0 in match sets or in set and just did not look like himself. Um, and then Mensik went down with an injury and withdrew, giving Djokovic the win technically to
Oh yeah,
advance.
Musetti.
Musetti, sorry, to advance to the semifinals, and um, that's gonna be a fun match. But I don't know if he stands a chance. I think we've seen the last of it. I think Father Time has finally caught up to one of the greatest of all time.
Oh, I agree. I'm a big fan of tennis too. That's something I love watching. I think personally, Sinner is going to beat him, and I I think off pride reasons, Djokovic is going to try at least one set, so I think it's going to be a 3-1. Personally, I think Sinner wins the first two, Joke fights, wins the third, and then Sinner closes it out. I've always been a big Fed fan. I still think no matter what, I think to me he's the greatest ever. But I can't deny that Djokovic and Nadal and Fed are the big three. It was a privilege to grow up watching them. Djokovic should hang it up, but I know it's hard for people to do that because especially when people have act like Tom Brady, these greats, they have the competitive fire where they're worried when they retire if they can't find that competitive itch. So I hope he finds that.
Yeah, yeah, and you see that he still has greatness in him. It's just very clearly his body is not keeping up to his mental ability to go to the ball. Like there were multiple times when the ball was hit on the opposite side of the court and he just couldn't get there. He just couldn't get there. And it was clearly, to my perspective, which is not that professional, at least in tennis, didn't seem like he was really all there. And the odds for this upcoming round is he you can get him at +1,000 to win, which is speaking volumes at what people expect from him in the upcoming round. But I think that's going to do it for us today, unless there's anything else you want to kind of tackle. I did have a fun question for you that I forgot to ask at the beginning of the show, which was, do you have a favorite sports memory? It could be a time you went to a stadium, or as a kid, you watching a game with your dad or something like that. I guess I'll go first to give you time to think about it, unless you want to go real quick.
Yeah, I have it on my mind too. So something I will say is, like I grew up watching sports with my dad. My dad passed away when I was 17, but I was like lucky enough to have like a stepdad who was there and stuff like that. I'm 30 now, but my dad, I grew up watching the Bay sports and stuff like that, and one of probably my best memories ever was going to I would say one of my I would say first baseball games I fully remember. I was about like 7 years old, and I went to the game in 2000, and I forgot. I believe it was 2002. Um, when was it? No, I think it was like 2004. So it was later on. It was when I was at the game where Barry Bonds broke the home run record. I was on this top seats with my dad, and he hit it, and the stadium went crazy. You see people piling just to get that home run, Paul. And it's just being at the time, I think it was like Packville Park. It was amazing. And something we got to do is we got a guy for a boat when my dad passed away to put his ashes right behind the stadium. And he was like, "You're supposed to be 300 feet away," but I'm out looking. We got right behind. So just being to me, it's the best park ever. I'm not being biased. If you ever a chance to go to San Francisco, go to that park during baseball season. But that's probably my best memory is just being in that stadium environment, watching one of the greatest ever hit 756.
That's unbelievable. That's an unbelievable experience. And the fact that he hit that many home runs in a really bad home run hitting park is just speaks volumes to the talent that he had. And honestly, I think it's a travesty that he is not in the Hall of Fame. I have a soapbox on that as well, where I mean, like, listen, you can either let in the people who cheated or got caught cheating, or you don't, but you should
He
probably
was a
be
Hall of Fame
even.
before that.
Yeah, I mean, he was, but that does. I don't know if that really makes it that, oh, so just give him a Hall of Fame for the pre-career, because he did tarnish his career at the end there. But again, I think that a lot more people did and who are in the Hall of Fame. So if you're just going to
Yes.
let people in, just let in one of the greatest of all time. He is the greatest hitter of our generation, right? I mean,
Yeah, he was the most feared hitter we've ever seen, honestly. And even players talk about it. And something about Barry Bonds I will say too is he had the greatest bat to ball skills ever. He only struck out 100 times once, while these other people that took roids strike out a lot. And also, I say this: the steroid era saved baseball. Baseball was going downhill, and if it wasn't for these hitters taking roids, which Barry Bonds took it last because he got jealous when he had 3 MVPs before it, and he should have won MVP, but they cared about home runs. But if it wasn't for these hitters taking steroids, baseball would have been done.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I have feelings about that, but I hear it. I hear it. They definitely needed to do something. And you see the end result of doing something, which is, instituting a pitch clock and trying to get some of these games moving a little quicker. To really kind of help the newer generation kind of get acclimated to such a slow moving game when everything is just so fast in today's world. But I do agree that the MLB did look the other way for a very long time, and then once the journalists kind of came after them, then they were like they feigned outrage, like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that this was happening when you clearly knew for multiple years. Like
Oh
there
yeah, they
wasn't
knew, they
like
knew, but they were
clearly
letting it
knew.
happen because they're getting views.
Yeah. So I mean that's a whole nother talk, but my favorite memory growing up was going to game six in Fenway. I'm a Yankee fan, but we went to game six, I think it was 2001, 2003 ALCS against Boston. We went to Fenway we were living in Philly at the time. And it was just an unbelievable experience going there. To be fair, my Yankees lost that game, but the next game, Aaron Boone hit that monster home run to send them to the next round. I mean, that was just an unbelievable 2 game that I will never forget my entire life. And even though I'm a Yankee fan, that Fenway Park is also a special experience, just like Petco over there in San Francisco. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for all of us today. Drew, can you just give us your best bets one more time?
Yeah, my best bet for college basketball will probably be Houston minus 7.5. For NBA, I like over 229.5 for Miami Heat versus Magic. And then it looks like the Avalanche game raised a lot towards the Avalanche. So I'm probably going to skip that one and just possibly live bet it.
Nice. Yeah, I'm personally on the Blue Jackets in the NHL. Their money line price at minus 130. And in the NBA, I'm taking the Raptors minus 1.5 at minus 110 against my New York Knicks. But from us, Drew and I, Only Bet Sports Podcast, looking forward to Prince of Picks back on tomorrow and potentially even a special episode tonight on the Europa League previewing tomorrow's matches. That's going to do it for us. Make sure to check out Sunday's episode on Champions League. We have bets on every single game going on. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow.